I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senator Chris Murphy joined former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords and a bicameral group of Democrats to call for gun control legislation on Tuesday. The Connecticut Democrat has been vocal about his support of gun control, and he urged his colleagues in the Senate to act on gun reform legislation. Murphy concluded that, quote, "The breadth of American gun violence is really hard to calculate and imagine." Listen in for his full remarks.
Well, thank you all for being here. There's no words to express my gratitude to my great friend Gabby for what she has done to lead this movement, to grow an organization that is making a difference. Gabby and I were next door neighbors our freshman year in the House of Representatives. We learned a lot together, and I'm just so proud of what she has done to be able to speak truth to power. Speaker Pelosi, thank you for bringing a difference-making piece of legislation before the House of Representatives this week. It is going to save lives. It is going to put pressure on the United States Senate to do the right thing, and we are deeply grateful for your leadership. Listen, there are a lot of very scared parents and kids out there today. They are scared for their lives. They are scared for their safety. But they're also scared that democracy is so fundamentally broken that it can't step up and answer the most fundamental concern that any parent has: the physical safety of your children. Now, the world is paying attention because of what happened in Uvalde and what happened in Buffalo, and there's good reason for that. There's something deeply psychologically cataclysmic about that number of children, that number of adults losing their lives all at one time. But there's a slaughter every night in this country. Only in America do you wake up in the morning to 110 people having been killed the day before from guns. And so it's incumbent upon us to address the real story of American gun violence, which is the mass shootings, but also the daily homicides, the suicides, the accidental shootings. That's what this House bill does, and I'm grateful to my friend Lucy McBath for her leadership as well. But the Senate needs to act now. The Senate can't wait any longer. And so we are this week extending a hand of partnership to our Republican colleagues, but we are not going to settle for a piece of legislation that just checks a box. Right? We are only going to move forward with a piece of legislation that saves lives. And we would not be in a position today to be able to have serious negotiations about life-saving anti-gun violence legislation if not for the movement that you are all a part of, if not for the organization that Gabby helped found, if not for many of the other organizations that are represented here. We have built a movement, right, that is making clear to members of the Senate and the House that if you don't do the right thing and support 90% of your constituents, then you're not coming back to the House of Representatives of the United States Senate. And so I'm grateful to this memorial. This is incredibly moving to look out over these bases. Important to remember that this represents those whose lives were lost. But if you look at the mass shootings since Uvalde, well, 25 people died, over 100 were injured, and those are life-altering injuries as well. The scope, the breadth of American gun violence is really hard to calculate and imagine. And this just gives you a small window into the horror that we have decided to live with. Hopefully we make a different decision this week, and that will be in part thanks to the movement that Gabby has helped to build and the action of the House of Representatives. Thank you very much for being here today.